Hey, this is Christine, your DIY craftaholic. Welcome back to my channel if you are returning, and welcome to you if you are new. Now, I am super excited to be participating in this 5 under 5 collaboration with these beautiful ladies. I have 5 DIYs for you today, so let's jump right in. Now, DIY number 1. Now, this is a crate from the Dollar Tree, and this is the top half of one of those patriotic signs from Dollar Tree. I already used the bottom half of it, and this is what's left. So now I painted both pieces with some white chalk paint from Waverly. And if you notice, I taped down that part of the crate as well as this little piece here, because that's where I'm going to be applying the glue. And now they're all painted. Then I went in with some pumpkin orange acrylic paint and I painted that pumpkin. I wanted it to look a little bit more rustic, so I took some Waverly antique wax and I just wiped around the sides and like frame it in the middle to give it that pumpkin look, and also stain the stem. And to make it look cohesive, I went and I did the frame as well as the crate. And before I glued them together, I made a small bow from this Dollar Tree fall ribbon. I just did like a little awareness bow and then just scrunched that in the middle and wrapped a piece of jute around it. And that ribbon is done. Now, I thought that the pumpkin needed a little bit more pizzazz. So I took my gold marker from Dollar Tree and just outlined where I had stained those lines. Now, of course, this part is optional. I mean, you don't have to make your pumpkin look like mine. Yours can look even better. You can add or subtract the gold marker. But I just thought that adding the gold around the pumpkin just made it pop a little bit more. I then selected the word thankful from these rub-on transfers from the Dollar Tree. Now I'm using this little burnishing tool that I got from Dollar Tree, but if you don't have this, of course you can use like a small craft stick. Nothing that's too sharp that's gonna cut the transfer, but anything with a smooth edge or surface you can definitely use to transfer the word onto the surface. Now here I'm using what Dollar Tree calls a craft picker to remove the tape before I actually applied the glue. And for extra security, I used some wood glue as well as the hot glue. And that little part that was peeking out with the black, I just applied some white paint and covered that area. And then I just went over it with some Mod Podge before I applied the bow. And when that was dried, I just added a piece of jute for hanging and added 2 of these wooden beads that I got from BB Craft at the end of the twine. And this is done. Now I took a piece of flour foam and I glued that down on top of a piece of cardboard, and that is because I wanted to keep the surface of the crate empty, so when I'm done with that I can just pull that out and add anything else that I want to add to the crate. And also because I'm going to be using that for flowers. So this is just to show you it can serve dual purposes. Of course, as usual, do whatever suits you or whatever looks best to your decor. And here I'm just adding some little tiny pumpkins just to show you how this is one way you can style your little hanging basket or hanging crate. And this is done. So let's move on to talk more about this collaboration. Now this is the 5 under 5 open playlist DIY challenge being hosted by Missy from Crafty Cove DIY and Emily from Farm Charm Chic, and their guest host is Robin from Robin Buys and DIYs. Now guys, you have to check out their channels. I will leave links for each of these channels in the description box below, as well as the list to the playlist that is chock full of talented and creative creators. You don't want to miss it too. Now this is another reversible or dual purpose, if you want to call it, and I'm using this pack of foam dice that I got from Dollar Tree. and I painted it with, well, many coats of white chalk paint because this took days, I must tell you. And then I took some wooden letters that I had gotten from Dollar Tree, I believe, last year as well, or it could have been from Plaid, I don't remember. I painted the word or the letters fall in orange, and then the S and W in Waverly chalk paint in elephant. After they were all dried, I didn't like that the orange was too stark, so I just dry brush it with some Waverly antique wax, and then applied some Mod Podge on both the letters as well as the 4 boxes or 4 squares. And I'm literally crafting my stash. Everything that I use in my DIYs today I had already in my stash. And after they were dried, it's now time to assemble and glue on the letters. Now here I was just trying to make sure that the letters were standing in the upright position before I actually glued on the other side. Now I was trying to make a O out of this greenery, but boy. And then for the size of the O, the leaves were too large, so I had to trim it down. And then after I trimmed it down, I didn't like how it looked, so I then took a piece of jute twine and wrapped it around, and I thought it looked a little bit better. I then added one of these little mini rosettes. I'm not sure where I got this, maybe at Walmart I believe. And I just glued that in the middle, and I think that this made it look even more Christmassy. This part is also optional. I thought that I needed to give it a base, so I took 12 of these tumbling tower blocks and I glued them together with hot glue and wood glue, and then I stained it. So if you are new to my channel or coming over from the playlist, welcome. I'm so happy you joined me today. Here on my channel, I do DIYs on a budget, dupes, look for less, and some occasional Dollar Tree shopping hauls and thrift flips. If you love budget-friendly DIYs like these and you have not yet subscribed, please consider subscribing and be sure to hit that notification bell. Hit it again and select all so YouTube notifies you whenever I upload new videos. And also be sure to like, share this video, and let me know what you think about my DIYs today in the comments down below. Now back to crafting. Now this is another dual purpose or reversible. I'm gonna call them DIYs number 3 and 4. This is a Dollar Tree pumpkin, and I removed the tag and removed the raffia ribbon and sanded it down, and I'm going to be working on both sides. I took some of that same orange. I painted the pegs, I'm gonna call them pegs. I painted the pegs with some of the pumpkin orange. Now after that dried, I decided to stain the inner parts with some Waverly antique wax, and here I am just brushing it on. And then after I brushed it on, I then took a baby wipe and wiped it off. But then when I looked at it, I changed my mind. I didn't like how it looked, and then I just decided to go with something else. And you'll see that further on what I did. So now I flipped it over and I painted the back side or the other side with some white chalk paint. And this welcome fall sign that I got from Dollar Tree last year as well, I painted that with the same orange. And then after everything dried, I Mod Podged the words and the surface. So after the letters dried, I thought that I needed to add some more pizzazz to it. So I went over it, the edges, with my white marker from Dollar Tree. Then of course I didn't want to just have a plain old white pumpkin. So I took this latte mocha, I believe that's what it's called, from Apple Barrel, and my dried chippy brush, and I just went across diagonally to give some dry brush strokes, and I think this made it look fabulous. I love it. That added some dimension to the pumpkin and made it look more rustic. I had this pack of napkins left over from last year, and I just fussy cut or close cut the pumpkin from here and just glued it on. Now I thought I was recording when I was showing how I was applying the Mod Podge to the surface before I added the napkin, but no, that didn't happen. So here I'm just adding the Mod Podge after I've glued that on and flipped it over. And this is where I said I changed the color of this stain because I didn't like how it looked, and I just applied some of the same mocha paint and covered that, and I think it came out looking great. Let me know what you think. I then added back the string for hanging and then wrapped the jute around the stem. Now this side was a little too plain, and I was thinking, what do I need to put here that wouldn't make it so fussy or too crowded? And I found the word Simply Bless, and that is it. I just rubbed that on and it came out perfect. Now this little messy bow was already used. Of course, it's perfect. And then the raffia that I had taken from the pumpkin, I just added it back to this side, and this dual purpose reversible sign is done. Now you will see the final reveal at the end. Now on to DIY number 5. This too is also reversible, but I decided to just work on one side because I was getting so tired. I was like, I am so over it right now. This is one of Dollar Tree large wooden round sign and one of their calendar page from 2022. So I just laid it down on the wood and kind of measured where I wanted the page to start. And here I'm mixing a little of the mocha with the pumpkin orange and then painted around the edges that will be shown after I glue on the calendar page. And now it's all painted and dried. To glue it onto the board, I used the Mod Podge. I wanted to use some Eileen's tacky glue, but that wasn't working, so I thought the Mod Podge worked out better. I then used the Mod Podge brayer or roller to smooth out any bubbles that would have been underneath. And then of course the edges would have looked too plain, so I took a black Sharpie and just added some stitch marks or stitch lines around those edges. And then for even more highlight or decor, I took twine and just outlined the calendar piece in the middle, and I thought that brought it up a little bit more. And this too I've been using. I've cut away from it so many times. So I cut the two largest leaves and glued them together, and then made a bow from this Dollar Tree ribbon. And I did the same thing. I just made an awareness bow, scrunch it in the middle. Because this ribbon is wired, it's not so easy to go wherever you want it to. And again, I just used a piece of twine, wrapped that in the middle, tied it real tight. And this is the wire part of a wired ribbon that I had used last year. I just wrapped that over the twine to cover it up. I then just glued that on top of the leaves, then glued that on top of my sign, and I believe this is done. No, not actually. I added back the same string for hanging, and now it's done. And now we're on to the final reveal. Now guys, I absolutely love these. Love them, love them, love them. But let me know in the comments below which one of these today was your favorite. And I really want to thank the ladies for allowing me to participate in this collaboration. 5 Under 5 Fall Frenzy. Don't forget to check out the playlist as well as the host channels and the guest host channels. And if you like DIYs like these, I recommend or suggest this video right here or this playlist. And stay safe until next time. Bye.